seasons lost. In Austin, I stalled, pause. My eyes crawled to a table. Paralyzed by pairwise dice, then attend to this heaven slice of an angel wrapped in skin. Throw dice at woes of life. Love deprived, looking to revive. What's the meaning of life? One subjective paradise. Crystal chandeliers, motives reflected. Often mirrors appear clear, grinning from ear to ear. Craving and raving and grain, rekindle the flame. Closer she draws near. Stay there, remove your underwear, shove it somewhere over there. In paradise, we know our purpose.
Paradise in Paradise. Hey, hello everybody, and welcome to the Unpopular Hour. I'm your host, Matt Clark. This is Women Only Wednesday, our show Women Only Wednesday. So I'm excited to talk about today's topics. We're going to talk about the Thunder, how they just acquired in a trade, which we didn't know. We talked about that. We didn't know if the Thunder were actually going to do a trade or whether they're just going to go through the draft. But anyway, we got KZ Okpala, I think that's his name, and I'll wait for them to pronounce it. But anyway, we got him. So we're going to talk about the NBA trades. We're going to talk some more about, the Westbrook thing that's just going crazy with the Lakers, which he said some stuff, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, we acquired him today, and basically we just gave them a second-round pick, and we had a first-round pick from them, but we switched it to 2025. And gave them a second-round pick to get him. Now, what did we get? We got a guy that basically, averages around 11 minutes a game for them, 3 points, but he is shooting 42% from the three. So we did get that, and that's one of the things that I've been talking about. We did need somebody who's big, who's athletic, who can actually score. And, if you play for Miami, you do play defense because Coach Sproles, he's all about the defense. And Miami's mentality is defense, and defense dictates your offense. Everybody used to talk about today how the Lakers, it was showtime. Well, the reason why it was showtime was because they play defense. You can't fast break unless you stop somebody. Okay, there's no fast break if you don't stop anybody. Lakers did a fantastic job of doing that. So what does Miami do? And all these teams that are in the lead or in the top of the NBA, they all have one thing in common. They all play good defense. They play defense because defense dictates your offense, and we talk about that all the time. Defense, get some steals, get out in transitions, get some easy buckets. They get you into a rhythm, and then once you get into a rhythm, it's over. This is the NBA. All these guys are athletic. They all can play. And even us, the same thing with the Thunder. When we are competitive and when we're in games, and how we get into games is it's on our defensive end. We get some steals. We get our hands in the passing lanes. We get a dunk or a layup, and then we knock down a couple threes in rhythm, and it makes a huge difference. So now what I thought was interesting, he shoots 42% from three from the corner. I thought that was interesting because we do shoot a lot of corner threes simply because of the way our offense and the way we run, because when we are attacking the basket and we're attacking the lane, that's the shot that you want to do is you want to kick it out to the corner because the corner man has to come over and stop the penetration, the drive penetration. If he doesn't stop the drive penetration, you usually have the corner, but what you have to worry about is the guy coming from the wing sliding down to the corner. So that's the thing you got to worry about that. But I thought the Thunder have done a fantastic job in the last few games of trying to finish at the basket instead of kicking the ball out so much. Then when that happens, that freezes that guy on the wing because he's got to guard his guy because the ball might come back out, and you can't rotate as fast if you pass it to the wing. The guy at the top crosses over, you kick it back up to the top, that guy rolls over, and you will get a shot from the wing or from the corner on the opposite side. So as I've always talked about with my kids, the ball moves faster than a man does. That's why we always talk about in breaking a press. If you notice teams that break the press, they don't dribble a whole lot. They pass the ball. You can't move as fast passing as you can dribbling. You can't move as fast dribbling as you can passing. Anyway, KZ, I think he's going to be a good addition if he continues to shoot that way because, like I said, that's one of our missing pieces. We need a shooter, and we do shoot a lot of shots from the corner simply because of the way our offense does and the way we are playing right now. We're attacking the basket a lot, which I like. Like I said on the last broadcast of After the Storm, I would wish we'd pull up and instead of going all the way to the basket every time, pull up and shoot a mid range, especially Dort, because Dort tends to um, he goes downhill. He's like a lot like Westbrook. He goes downhill and he goes in a hurry and he's out of control most of the time. So hey, bro, pull up mid range. Then the next time you come down, you give him a hezzy. Then your path to the basket is much easier because the first guy you've gone behind, he's gone. Second guy comes up, you knock down a jump shot. Next time you give him a head fake or hezzy, comes at you, boom. Now all of a sudden we have a 3-on-2 in the paint or a 2-on-1. So it makes a huge difference. So I'm thinking the Thunder need to concentrate now. We're doing more of not shooting threes, which I was a big fan of, not shooting threes. They've cut down on that. We've been in all the games the last times, unless the Mavericks game saved that because we were 17 of 40 whatever, which is an anomaly for us. But at the same time, when we're knocking down threes, we're a hard team to beat, but we're just not consistent enough from the three-point line or accurate enough in order to do that. So that's part of it. Now, what I do like about this trade is he's a big. We didn't give up anything but draft picks. Well, hell, we got so many damn draft picks that don't really matter, and we still get the first draft. We get the first round pick. We did not lose that. We just switched it from 2023 to 2025, which gives us some more room to look at some talent later on down the road. So I do like what they did there. We got something basically for nothing. The Heat did a good job because they got rid of some salary cap so that they could re-sign one of their younger talents. And KZ had a lot of potential coming out. I think he's got a lot of potential, and this may be a good fit because a lot of times, a guy gets drafted to a team and he doesn't fit. And you can look at the Thunder roster over and over and over. How many guys that we drafted did not play that well, did not do that good here in Oklahoma City. As soon as they got to change the scenery, boom, they went off. And I think ironically, Jeremy Lamb is back up in free agency after this year. I don't want him to come back, but I'm just saying he's up. So that may or may not have necessarily been a bust for him because when you get traded and then you don't get re-signed, is that a bust? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but it kind of looks that way. So. But anyway, like I said, we traded for him, which I thought was fantastic for the Thunder. Because, guys, we have, like I've said many times on After the Storm, we have a team. We have a good team. We're just missing some pieces. Now, let's see if this piece that we've added works out. We haven't really given up anything for him, okay? So it actually may end up being a very, very good deal for us if, like I said, that's a big if he can continue to shoot that, but he has to average more than 11 minutes a game for us to really make an impact, and he possibly can because we have some decent forwards. We do have Roby, we have Williams, and we have Baisley. Baisley's been shooting great lately, but y'all don't know I'm not that big of a fan of his because I just don't think that he's too inconsistent. He's up and down, and he makes horrible decisions. Once he starts making some shots, he thinks all of a sudden he's a scorer and not a shooter, and I don't think he's either one. But when you think you're a scorer, now I talked about before, the difference between shooting and scoring is a shooter is somebody who catches and shoot. Okay, a Muscala. He is a shooter. He's not a scorer. Scorers can put the ball on the ground and be able to attack the basket. Scorers are strictly catch, and I find a spot and I shoot. And we know Muscala pretty much loves the top of the key because we run a lot of pick and pops where pick and rolls where you come a pick and pop, pick and roll, same thing, except that he does not roll, he pops out. So that's the difference between pick and roll, pick and pop. So he's really good in the pick and pop where he can attack the basket, especially with Shea Gillis and Josh because they're excellent passers of the basketball. So they make very good decisions on who to pass the ball to, unlike somebody we're going to be talking about later. So that's going to be a good thing for us. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Like I said, if we get more than 11 minutes out of him, this is a fantastic trade. If he's still shooting 42% from corner threes, that's a fantastic deal for us. So, but anyway, on his stats in Miami in the 3 years he's been there, he's averaged 11 minutes, 3 points a game on 40% shooting with 1.8 rebounds. Now, Miami's loaded at the forward position. They've got talent all over the place. So it's understandable why he could not get minutes. And Pat Riley on the other side saw something else that they wanted to keep. So they say, hey, let's get rid of this guy. He's not really what we thought he was going to be, but he does have potential. Let's send him to Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is in need of what? A big guy who can rebound, who's athletic, who can play defense, who can shoot the three. So we probably have gotten our guy. We will see, and we probably, we have 30 something games left, so we'll see how that works. I won't really judge him on a small sample size unless he's just horrible, or he steps up and really plays. But 30 games, 35 games, whatever we have left, is not going to necessarily be a good enough sample size for me with us as far as whether that was a good draft or not. So I think if we bring him back next year, then we see what he plays through about another. I think you need a full year for me to kind of look at you before my eye test will tell you yay or nay. But it will tell you yay or nay within a year, and sometimes it tells me within 10 games, that guy cannot play. Look at this dude. Because I looked at Josh Gideon, first time I saw him this year, I'm like, that kid right there, I like that kid. I liked everything about him, and so I hope he continues to grow. So now, in the Simmons and Harden trade, I was looking at that, and I'm going, as I said Monday, I like the trade Harden for Simmons simply because James is unhappy. He gets reunited with Daryl Morey, who was his GM at Houston, and they like each other. They understand each other. He knows what James likes. He knows he knows what to do to get the maximum out of James that New Jersey's clearly not getting out of him right now. He's out of shape. He clearly is unhappy. You just look at his remarks. He's unhappy with the whole Kyrie deal and the vaccine and all of that. And of course, we went over all that Monday. And like I said, everybody has the right to do what they want to do. But if you're in a team sport, it's kind of hard for you, especially NBA, for you to put yourself ahead of the team. I mean, in football, it's fine. You can, if your quarterback can only play certain cities in certain states, then that would be an issue. Because remember, if Green Bay had played the Giants in the Meadowlands, then he would not have been able to play. Aaron Rodgers or Carson Wentz, they would not have been able to play because of the state law, which is what happens to Kyrie right now. And remember, Giants Stadium is in New Jersey, not in New York. Okay? So remember that one thing. So that's a huge difference. If they'd have played the Giants, either one of them, if your quarterback is not vaccinated, he would not have been able to play. So that's huge. And you look at Kyrie, well, there's 82 games. Well, 41 games you're not going to be able to play. 41 games. And when you looked at this team with Harden, with KD, with Kyrie, I mean, with them on the court, they're unbelievable together. Because, I mean, it's a three-headed monster. I mean, what are you going to do? Pick your poison. And they got arguably one of the best closers in the game in Kevin Durant as far as closing out teams. And let's remember, if he wore a 17 instead of a 17 and a half, Milwaukee would have not have made it to the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant would have sent them walking with that. But, of course, his foot was on the line because what? He had 17 and a half instead of a 17. So it makes a huge difference. But anyway, I did think it was interesting that Embiid said that he was open to Simmons coming back. I thought that was interesting because the problem with that is you as a person, if you're working with someone and you're in the same job and this person says something derogatory about you in public, on social media, is all over the place, so there's no denying what was said. How does that affect you? Can you go back to that team? Do you want to go back to that team? Is that something you're interested in doing? Knowing what the coach said and knowing, everything. And then, Philadelphia is one of the hardest cities on athletes. They don't play. If you're balling and doing what you're supposed to do, hey, they're all about you. But hey, you jack up, you mess around, hey, they're quick. They don't play. They understand. They're no joke. It's not like, you can say whatever you want to on sports media and whatever and say what you want to in Philly. No, they're very smart. They're very astute. They understand what's happening. they're not going to go for no bull. You're not going to just go out there and say anything. You better be on point. You better know exactly what you're saying, know exactly what you're doing, or they cut your head off. They're very, very knowledgeable. So I don't buy what Embiid said whatsoever, but he knows without Simmons they have no chance of winning. But bro, you already burnt that bridge. So for me with Philly is, what are you waiting on? You're not going to get everything you know you wanted from them, so you might as well just go ahead and get the deal done. Nobody's going to give you all these draft picks. That's not going to happen. Not for Ben. They know he don't want to be there. They don't believe all this other stuff that he's saying. Nobody believes that. Everybody believes he just wants out. So let the guy go. Get as much as you can, let him out. Why you holding? All you doing is hurting Embiid. You've got one of the best centers in the NBA. He's in his prime, and you're going to waste a year or 2 years because you don't want to give up somebody who wants to leave? Really? Bro, if you don't want to be here, I don't want you here. Get the hell out. I don't want anybody who don't want to be there. If you don't want to be on my team, you don't want to be with me, then get the hell out the door, bro. Don't let it no knob hit you know where. Bye. See ya. Later. I guess I shouldn't have said that. I got all Faith all fired up. She's clearly feeling a little better. But anyway, in that. So now let's go in and talk about Westbrook. He's trying to say that Faith. Sorry about that. He's trying to say that you look at his record down the stretch. Bro, we're looking at your record down the stretch. That's why you're not playing. He says that he deserves the right to play. No, like I said, and when you were in Oklahoma City, bro, I want you all the way up until the last 3 minutes of the game, 2 minutes of the game, then I want you sitting on the bench over there. Because we have a better chance of winning with you being on the bench in the last 2 to 3 minutes than we do with you playing. Because you're going to make a bonehead decision. It's like the other night. You know, the Lakers come out of a timeout. Everybody's walking up the court, try to set up the play. Westbrook takes the ball, flies by everybody. LeBron and AD are looking at him like, what are you doing? But that's him. His basketball IQ is limited. He doesn't get it. He's not going to get it. He has a chip on his shoulder. He always has. He plays with it, which is part of his charm, which is part of the thing that I liked about him. He went hard. But my problem is you're not smart. You don't make good decisions down the stretch. You're the worst player in the history going down the stretch of the NBA. Bro, you no. That's why they're not playing you. But your ego will not allow you to accept that. You blame everybody but yourself. It's this far. Why are you talking about that? Hey, you need to talk about what your deficiencies are. How do you fix your deficiencies? How do you make yourself better? That's what you need to be talking about, bro. Instead of worrying about all this other stuff. But that's Westbrook. That's who he's always been. That's who he always will be. That's what he does. So, to me, bro, you need to fix yourself and worry about that. But now, what did the Lakers do? Now, they're hard-headed. They're not going to admit to make a mistake in public, but they know this experiment did not work. Because now you got to put the ball in Westbrook's hands at the end of the game instead of LeBron. And LeBron is acquiescing, going, okay, Russ, take the ball, just be smart. And he can every now and then. But if you're talking about a 7-game series, you can't have him 2 games making bonehead plays down the stretch. That costs you 2 games. You can't afford that. You can't afford 1 game, which cost us in the Thunder over and over and over in the playoffs because he would make a bonehead play down the stretch and cost us a game or 2. But all the fans saw, what everybody saw was, oh, look, I had 40 points. Yeah, like he said to Patrick Beverly, oh, man, y'all couldn't stop me. I had 42. And Patrick Beverly's like, yeah, bro, on 40 shots. Where KD, on the other hand, he has 40 points on 25 shots. Steph Curry, 40 points, 26, 27 shots. Dame Lillard, 40 points on 26, 27, 28 shots, maybe 30. But people don't look at that, and that's what I hate about the NBA and the journalism and all the stuff, the sports coverage now. You talk about how many points they score, but you don't talk about how efficient they were in getting the points. What do I say all the time on After the Storm? It's not about you scoring, it's when you're scoring. What kind of impact it did when you had those points? Not that you scored great, but it's when you score points. Okay? That make the huge difference. Dort won the game for us the other night. What did he do? It's when he scored them. Down the stretch, in OT. Then he comes back the next game and makes bonehead plays down the stretch. Because he doesn't understand his limitations. He doesn't understand what his game is. What is the strengths of my game? Great players understand. If I need to get a basket, there's my spot. I got to get to my spot. I promise you, ask Lou Dort what his spot was, he wouldn't know. If you ask Russell Westbrook what his spot is, I promise you, he wouldn't know. Go ask Jordan what his spot is. Go ask Larry Bird what his spot is. Go ask Steph Curry what his spot is. If I got to have a bucket at the end, I need two or I need a three. What is the spot I got to get to? Promise you, these guys know what the spot is they got to get to get the maximum chance of winning the ball game. Promise you, LeBron, he knows. Kobe, he knew. Jordan, he knew. Kareem, we already know Kareem. Let me get down on the post on that left-hand side, boom, right-hand sky hook, here I come. Ain't nothing you can do. You know, big fella, when he gets there, boom, when he launches, it's over. We all know that. And it's a matter of understanding what your spot is. When I train my kids, what do I tell them? Hey, you got to get to a spot. What's your spot? We do a drill in my training sessions where it's a 5-minute drill. And I make them do the same shot over and over and over. They have two different spots, really three, but there's two different that I work on. These need to be your two spots. You need to be able to get a pull up and get a jump shot off. Where's the spot you're going to go to? And you need to be able to get to the basket. What's the shot you got to get to and where's the spot? So I'll make them work on those moves to get to those two spots in order to make a 2-point basket or to make a three. You got to have a spot. You got to get to it. You got to know where it's at. And you got to know how to get there and what moves to make to get there. Those are little bitty things. They're not big things. They're little bitty things. And if you can correct those things, it's just like most people don't remember Steve Smith. Went to Michigan State, played forever in the league. You knew what he's going to do. He's going to give you that little dip, little sidestep, bam, off the glass from 2 or 3 from the same. That's where he was going to go. He was going to be on the left-hand side of the basket, right about free throw line extended, because most people don't understand. There's 5 scoring points. There's the baseline, there's the wing, there's the top of the key, there's the wing, and there's the baseline. Those are your 5 scoring points. Those are the areas that you attack the basket from. And great players know the difference and know the spots and know how to get to them. So, but anyway, that's enough of that. I want to talk about one other thing. We're going to talk about the NCAA. Yes, March Madness is coming up. Men's is Auburn, the Zags, Purdue, Arizona, Kentucky. Auburn has a chance because they're big, they're athletic, they can score, they got everything. The Zags, they're going to do what the Zags do. They beat up on weak teams, they come against good teams, you're out. Purdue, I just don't have any faith in you guys at all. Arizona does what Arizona does. They've got athletes all over the place. They've got shooters, they've got scorers, they got bigs, and Kentucky is on a run right now. And remember, when you're doing your deals, look at who's been their last 10 games. What are they doing the last 10 to 15 games going into the tournament? How well are they playing? If they're on a 5-5, then no. If they're 10-0, that's somebody you want to look at. So those are the little tips that you need to know. On the women's side, South Carolina's just beating the hell out of everybody. They're looking like the prohibitive favorites right now. Stanford, Louisville, NC State, Michigan. And what do you not see in there? UConn. Down year for them, but of course the best player in the country got hurt, so that's hurt them quite a bit. So anyway, that's exciting. Let's come back. We're going to talk the second half. We're going to talk about the NFL coaches and what has happened thus far with the hiring process. So stay tuned. Don't leave. Be right back. Okay, everybody, and welcome back to the second part of the show today. Um, the Unpopular Women Only Wednesday. Of course, I'm your host, Matt Clark. So, anyway, let's talk a little bit about the 9 NFL teams and who they hired, and let's kind of go through and grade the coaches. Okay, we're going to start off with the Bears. Um, they hired Matt Eberflus, who used to be the defensive coordinator of the Colts. Um, when we look at that, I mean, he's a defensive coordinator. You have a great defensive team. You have a great quarterback. Not great quarterback. You have a quarterback that's up and coming. I mean, he's got all the intangibles. He works hard. He's one of the first there. He's one of the last to leave. So he's doing all the things. Talking about Justin Fields, he's doing all the things that you need to do to have your quarterback be successful. But you got to protect him. Young guys, they got to protect them. You can't just come in and let them just get beat up time after time, and you've got to give him some weapons. You look at Joe Burrow; he's getting the hell beat out of him, but he's got two great receivers on the outside who can and he's got a good tight end. So, and of course, he has Joe Mixon to hand the ball off to and to protect him. And Joe Mixon is a great player. He can block, he can run the football, and he can catch it out of the backfield. That's what you want out of your running back. And he's an excellent all the way around, player. So that's helped him. But the Bears don't really have all that. So you got to get him an offensive line, but you got to get him some playmakers. You got to get some guys who can do something with the ball after they catch it. So hiring a defensive coordinator with a young coach is going to depend on who he hires as his OC and how well they bond. Because you look at the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Okay, why did they keep their offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore? Because of his relationship with Dak. Now, a lot of people say that Kellen didn't get a job because of how the Dallas Cowboys folded at the end, which is why he didn't get a head coaching job. But I look at, ever since Dak got hurt, when he came back, they just were not the same team. I don't know if he was hobbling or if he came back too soon or whatever it was, but they were not the same team. So I don't necessarily blame him because his quarterback still, you have CeeDee Lamb, you give him 2 targets in your loss against San Francisco 49ers. Really? He should have 10 targets. 7 to 8 catches. So I don't necessarily know if that was him or Dak. And then I don't know if him or Dak did the draw. So hiring a defensive coordinator, I'm going to probably give that a C right now. I don't think that was necessarily the best thing for the Bears, but they did hire him. And, I was not in the interview room. And like I said earlier on Monday, some people interview better than others. And so clearly he was a great interview. They already have a great defense. So I'm assuming they want to make that defense even better and then add some pieces here and there via trade, even though they're pretty much maxed out on the salary cap. So I don't know exactly how they're going to do that. Maybe you got to hire a better offensive line coach, somebody who can blend that group of guys that you got together, or you got to trade somebody or buy somebody's contract out in order to uproom or reduce somebody's contract and pay them a lot more later in order to create some cap space. But that's up to the GM, and he's going to have to do that. Now, when you look at the Broncos, now my boy Jose, don't send me no texts. Don't be talking trash to me about your hire. I don't want to hear nothing from you. Okay, I appreciate your sponsorship, but I don't want no mess from you because y'all know I don't know if y'all know our guy Jose Fierro, but he's a huge Broncos fan, so I know I'm gonna have to hear it from my take from this. But anyway, they hired Nathaniel Hackett, who used to be the offensive coordinator at Green Bay. Now, clearly, they did this to get Aaron Rodgers. Clearly. Okay, because the Broncos, offensively, they've got weapons. Defensively, they're very good. What are they missing? Quarterback. Okay? Quarterback. That's what they're missing. Because Chase, he's out. He's weak. Okay? And nobody else they get can stay healthy enough because every backup they get that starts a quarterback does a good job until they get hurt. And the reason why they're a backup and they've been to 12 teams is because they can't stay healthy. But I do like him. He's a great offensive mind. I think that that was a very good hire by the Broncos. I'm going to give them a B on that. Now, if they can figure out some way to get Aaron Rodgers, which I don't see happening, but if they do that, then they're an A plus 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 plus. Because then I think the Broncos will have everything they need to compete with the Chargers and compete with the Chiefs. Okay, I think that make that AFC West the best conference, along with the NFC West in the North in the NFC. So I think that'd be a great hire for them. Now the Texans, basically what you did is you promoted your assistant head coach Lovie Smith to head coach. I don't like that deal at all. This is Lovey's, like we talked about Monday. This is Lovey's third team. I like what Lovey did, and if you count his stint at Illinois, uh, since being at the Bears, his third head coaching job since he took the Bears to the Super Bowl. So I'm not a fan of this deal at all. Now, yeah, did they hire an African American coach to replace the African American coach that they had? Sure. Is it going to be the same situation? I believe it is. Uh, Houston has got to make some things happen. First of all, you got to get Deshaun Watson back. First of all. Second of all, you got to get more weapons around him. Your defense is really good. You've had some great wins, beat some teams that nobody expected you to beat this year. But you got to get him back. You got to get the quarterback position solved first, then everything else. Do I like this? No. I give the Texans a D. I think they wanted to hire somebody else who was a quarterback coach in high school. How the hell are you gonna bring a quarterback coach from high school or a coach from high school to the NFL? Are you serious? But once again, the guy that they have running the organization for Belichick deal, ever since he got there, the organizations went down. You went from being up at the top, running, basically playing almost a team that goes to the Super Bowl, to an also ran, to a laughing stock. So you might need to clean the top of the organization first. But you talk about the reasons why, like I said, bad organizations are bad organizations, and a lot of them on this list because it starts at the top and it goes down. It's ownership, and then it goes from there. So you got to have better owners, in which the Bears, they have one of the best ownership in the McCloskeys and one of the founders of the NFL. Papa Bear Hallis, it's his daughter's husband and their family are the ones who run it and have always ran it. So, them like the Rooneys, you would think that it'd be better. You think it would be, they'd hire the Rooneys are successful. Why? Why are they successful in 1 year after? They don't hire a bunch of coaches. They're very particular on who they hire. And when they hire coaches, they stay. But they hire really good coaches. Okay? Really, really good coaches. And they've only had three since the 70s. So that should tell you something about the stability. So I give the Bears a C. I give the Broncos a B. No, Jose, I'm not giving them an A. The Texans, you a D. And Lovey might turn out to be good, but once again, he has a Rex Grossman as his quarterback. I just don't see how that's going to work. But I do appreciate the love from the Texans hiring a African American or a minority coach after firing a minority coach, which I don't know. I don't think that's ever happened before in the NFL. Next up, we look at the Jaguars. They hired Doug Peterson. I think that Byron Leftwich for Tampa Bay would have been a much better hire, but they went with somebody who has a Super Bowl ring already with the Eagles. He's a dynamic coach. His players seem to like him. And so that's who they hired. I personally think that does help them quite a bit by having Peterson. Because remember Carson Wentz was his quarterback. That's who he drafted. You do have a great quarterback there, but you have so many things you got to go around. You need some help. You need offensive line help. You got to get some playmakers. You got to shore up your defense. But if you can get your quarterback help, keeping him straight up where he can make plays and not lose his confidence, you might have a chance there. So I want to give them a B. I would have given them an A if they hired Byron Leftwich simply because I think him being a former player and a really, really good player, a quarterback, I think that would have helped their quarterback situation. I think it would have helped the locker room. I think all the BS and stuff that was going on with some of the racism and things, I think that would have helped the locker room. But do I like Doug Peterson? Sure. He was a good head coach. He won a Super Bowl ring. And when he walks in with that big, huge ring on his finger, that might be a huge boost to their team and to their organization by having a head coach that was actually a winner instead of hiring some guy who won in college and thinks that he can come to college and treat NFL players, grown men, like he treated college players. Didn't work that way, big fella. Next up, the Raiders. They hired Josh McDaniel. I'm not gonna bash him because of what he did with the Broncos, and he did not do hard. Remember, he's the one that wanted Tim Tebow, which I still don't understand that, but whatever. Um, I don't necessarily agree with this, but he's been a great offensive coordinator. I don't like the fact that the coach hired him. He said yes, I'm gonna take the job, and then turn around and said I don't want the job. I don't that flippant type mentality. I don't know how far that's actually going to go uh, with the players in the locker room, but the organization picked him, so we'll see how that plays. I'm going to give the Raiders a C simply because the last great quarterback he had, they did really well, and he has a really, 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 really good quarterback in Carr. So we'll see how that plays. So I'm going to give them a C. I'm gonna give them a B minus. I'm gonna give them a B minus on that. I'm gonna change that to a B minus. But anyway, I'm gonna change that on my paper so that I can come back and see what I did on that. I'm gonna give him a B minus. Um, but anyway, I'm gonna come back on that, uh, and I'm gonna go. Okay, the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel, really? 49ers offensive coordinator? No, I don't. I still don't know who the guy is. Just because he came from the Shanahan tree, don't mean a whole lot. People who come from the Bill Belichick tree, they usually don't do very well. The people from the Andy Reid tree do really, really well. Now, I don't know if that's because it's defensive versus offensive, but we'll see. Now, if it's like Andy Reid's tree, which is offensive, then he came from Mike and Kyle Shanahan tree. Of course, Mike Shanahan used to be the coach of the Denver Broncos and coached them to Super Bowl championships and had John Elway as his team or as his quarterback. So, and like we keep saying, it's about the quarterback. You got to have a quarterback in this league. And I think that offensive coordinators, because thus far, the Bears, defensive coordinator, uh, the Broncos offensive coordinator, the Texans defensive coordinator, and the Jaguars offensive coordinator. So that's 2-2, and then the Raiders. So that's 3-2. Of those 5 jobs, 3 offensive coordinators, 2 defensive coordinators. So we're gonna see how well he does. I'm not gonna judge the guy. I'm just gonna give him a C. I'm gonna go, we'll see. I'm not gonna give him high or low. I'm gonna put him in the middle because he does come from guys who are great offensive coordinators. So we'll see how that works out, whether he can do that because he was on the staff that Shanahan had in Washington, which had everybody. You had the Packers head coach, you got Shanahan, so he had like 4 head coaches who were on his staff at that point. So uh, anyway, so we'll see. But I'm just gonna give him a C. I'm just gonna say it's up in the air. But he does have Tua, so we'll see if he can do anything with that, which we shall see. Flores says no. The management said yes. So we'll see eventually who's right on that deal. Vikings. Kevin O'Connell, the Rams offensive coordinator. Once again, that's 4 offensive coordinators, 2 defensive coordinators. I really like O'Connell. Man, now he did have some weapons, and he is under Sean McVay. So Sean McVay is one of the greatest minds, young coaches out there offensively, and you can't help but glean from that. You gotta pick up something. And let's face it, the Vikings, they have a good defense. He's got weapons all over the place on the offense. Like I said, I thought it would be a good fit for Jim Harbaugh from Michigan because you got a Davin Cook as a running back and you got Jefferson on the outside, and you like to be physical. So I thought it'd be a good fit. Now, quarterback, they're gonna have to address that. They're gonna have to address that deal. I mean, there's no way around it. They're going to address the quarterback. But I do like him. I do like that hire. I'm going to give the Vikings a B on that. I think that he's a significant upgrade from Zimmerman. He'll be more liked. I doubt if you'll see, like we talked about before, like my boy PJ, we all talked about how the locker room is the locker room. And when you're an athlete, you don't take what's in the locker room and put it outside. Whatever goes in there, it's sacred. You don't put that out. Anthony Brown or Antonio Brown, you don't go Facebook Live. Put what your coach is saying out there in public. You don't do that. Whatever's in the locker room stays in the locker room. So when your players are putting stuff out that you're saying or saying things about what's going on in the locker room, that's your first sign of check. You're on your way out the door. Bye-bye. See ya later. So anyway, Vikings, I'm going to give that a B. Like I said, the 4th offensive coordinator of that group. So now we get to the Saints. They hired within. Doug Allen was their defensive coordinator. Let's face it, that Saints defense, oh my God. They are monsters. Boy, they're defensive monsters. So we're going to see if he's got to find somebody to replace Sean Payton. Okay? That's Doug Allen's number one thing. Who am I going to hire that's going to create offensive opportunities for us to score? Defensively, we know we're going to shut you down. We're going to beat you up. We're going to be physical at the front attack. We got one of the best front fours in the NFL. One of the top five uh, front sevens. So we already know we're gonna come at you, and our backside is strong. We know we're coming at you on the D side. We're not gonna give up a lot of points. We already know that. But the question is, you got to be able to score. If you can't score, you're not going to win. I mean, you're going to win some games, but let's face it, you're not going to get to the playoffs, and you're not going to get far if you can't score. So you got to have a guy, you got to have a quarterback, and they've got to address that situation on what they're going to do with that. So I want to give the Saints a B simply because they kept everything tight, they kept everything in house, kind of like the same way that the Texans did with Lovie Smith, but totally different. Because the Texans are not a very well run organization. The Saints necessarily are a lot better because they just let Sean do it, and the ownership pretty much stayed the hell out of the way. So unlike the Cowboys, but anyway, so I want to give the Saints a B. Now the Giants, uh, Brian Dable, they hired him. I think I want to give the Giants a solid B, simply because, and probably even a B plus, because I believe that you hired your GM, who was the assistant GM for the Bills, and then you hired the offensive coordinator from the Bills. So you have guys who are very familiar with each other. They know how each other thinks. So now what does that mean? You've got Daniel Jones as a young quarterback. He's got some potential. Okay, he really does. Just like Josh Allen. You got Josh Allen, which is raw. And what did Dable do? He did a great job of getting Josh Allen the right people around him, get him to understand how to slow the game down. And once the game slowed down, you saw what Josh Allen became. And I think that will he do that same thing with the Daniel Jones? Two different type players. Uh, one's not 6'6", 240, like a lineman, kind of like Cam Newton was, except he had way more accurate and a bigger arm than Cam Newton ever thought he could have. So, but anyway, he was the offensive coordinator, like I said, the Bills. I want to give the Giants a BB plus for that because they are in the East, and the East is garbage. So, but I do want to give them a B for that. I think that was a great hire for them, especially when you paired your offensive coordinator and your GM, and they both knew each other, and they came from the same organization, which has only gotten better and better and better and better and better under both of those tuilages. So I want to say congratulations to all of these coaches. I hope you guys do well. I wish the best for you all, and hope it works. But I do stand by my grades thus far, and then we'll come back and revisit and see how well I actually did a year from now and see what happens. Now, let's talk about the Thunder tonight. The Thunder in Toronto are playing tonight, so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Thunder. Are we going to continue to do what we've been doing, being aggressive, attacking the basket, um, rebounding by committee, taking care of the paint by committee? We're starting to take more charges, which is good because what happens is we take a couple charges and then they call block and we stop. Continue to take them. Continue to take them. Because if you continue to take them, that's going to slow down on people attacking. Because the reason why we lost the game the other night is that they could just get to the basket whenever the hell they wanted, go to the state. They got to the basket whenever they wanted. Okay? Because we don't have anything to stop. We have nothing inside. But the Thunder, I'm giving them an A plus, so not shooting as many threes. They're being more aggressive. We're moving without the basketball. And those things right there are creating more easy opportunities at the paint. And creating more easy opportunities at the paint does what? Cuts down on transitional baskets because you're not shooting a long shot. Long shot, long rebound, transition, team gets in rhythm, bad for you. So I want to. I'm very pleased with what the Thunder are doing thus far, and like I said, with the new acquisition of KZ, we're going to see how that plays out. Okapolo, I got to figure out how to say his name, but anyway, I hope he does work out for us. So I'm interested to see him on the court and see how he blends in because it's about chemistry. So we've got a really good chemistry. I can't wait for SGA to come back after the All-Star game. I'm looking forward to see how we do. But anyway, I'm excited about the game tonight. I'm excited about our team. I love what we're doing. I love the direction we're going, and I like what Sam Presti's done, adding a shooter who is big and athletic and can play defense, because that's what we need. Because what we our guys inside right now, they can't guard people. You got to be able to guard people. And in Miami, if you don't guard people, you ain't playing. So now hopefully we can have the same mentality. Hey, you ain't guarding, you ain't playing. Let's start with guard more defense. And what have we been doing since December? What are we, sixth in the league, around that overall as an average, as far as one of the top 10 defensive teams in the league, which is allowing us not to be blown out, which is allowing us to be in almost every game, which says what? Now you got to get guys who can finish. Now you have to be smart down the stretch. You can't go in basically and make a bonehead play and then come right back and then you make another bonehead play by Dort. You're two guys who make bonehead plays. Why? Because Josh Giddey didn't have the ball in his hand. SGA didn't have the ball in his hand. At the end of the game, those two should have the ball in their hands. Now, on the opposite side of that, Josh Giddey, you got to, when you get the ball in your hand, you can't dribble, and stop with 4 seconds and kick the ball out and expect somebody to do something. If you're going to attack, be in attack mode thinking I'm going to score first, pass second, not be indecisive, which is probably why Dort and Baisley decided to do what they did. So, but anyway, you got to give him more confidence. You got to have him where the ball is in his hands. And if SGA was here, of course, it'd be in his hand. Because I want to say about Coach D, when he took the ball out of SGA's hands that one game and gave it to Dort twice, shot 2 air balls twice in a row. One on the layup and one from 3. Put the ball in your best player's hands, and it ain't him. So, but anyway, like I said, looking forward to the Thunder game tonight. Want to appreciate everybody for watching the Unpopular Hour Women Only Wednesday broadcast. Appreciate you. Peace. Be safe. See you on Friday.